This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. Welcome to Women's Wealth Wednesday, where we give you holistic financial advice and updates on the market. And joining me today is Caleb Doane, the Vice President of Foster Financial. Good morning, Caleb.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Okay, so much is happening right now, so I know that you're coming with the good stuff. So today we're going to talk about interest rates and the fact that they've been cut.
Yeah.
What is going on with that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so this is kind of the long-awaited interest rate cut that people have probably heard about in the news. We've been on kind of a probably 2-year cycle of interest rates going up.
And you teased about it earlier this year.
Exactly. So now they're finally getting cut. And I think a lot of people are kind of wondering, you know, why is this happening in the first place? What does this even mean? Is this good or bad? Well, I mean, the reason why interest rates are changing in the first place is because the Fed is kind of trying to thread this needle, and they've been doing this for a couple of years. On one hand, they're really trying to bring down inflation, right? We've had record high inflation. They're trying to bring it back down to that 2% goal. On the other hand, they're trying to avoid pushing the economy into a recession because, you know, when interest rates are really high, sometimes that can put pressure on the economy.
Right.
So now they feel like they've seen progress on the inflation side, which for people at home, you might think, well, I haven't really seen prices come down at all. And that's not the case, right? Inflation is still positive, so it's still growing. It's just growing at a slightly slower rate. So, I mean, it kind of feels like a little bit of a victory, but maybe not quite because prices are still really high.
But this is the order of things, right? I mean, typically it has to show on a larger scale for the entire economy before it trickles down for an individual to feel it. That's always correct when it comes to inflation coming up and down? Yeah.
I mean, you'll see, you know, different kind of sectors of the economy feel the impacts of inflation first. But I think everyone has certainly seen the prices at the grocery store go up, and it seems like they're staying up. At least they're not growing as quickly as what they were before. But then we've also seen, you know, some kind of strain on the economy a little bit. So unemployment has gone up a little bit, and that's something that, you know, worries Jerome Powell at the Fed. He kind of sees that and says, well, I want inflation to come down, but I really don't want to push the economy into a recession. So that's why we're starting to see these interest rates fall. Okay,
so let's talk about the benefits of these interest rates. So they are lower. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a good question. It really depends on who you are. So if you're a young person looking to buy a home for the first time, or maybe you just bought a home within the past couple of years and you're looking to refinance, of course it's better to have a lower interest rate on your mortgage. For a lot of my clients and for a lot of retirees, most of the time they own their own home already, or they're 20 years into a mortgage that's at 3%. And so that part of the interest rates coming down doesn't really affect them. It didn't affect them when it went up, and it's not going to affect them when it goes down. And for them, a lot of times they've been taking advantage of these higher interest rates.
How?
So they've been getting really good interest on the CDs that they have at the bank. They've been getting great interest on the bonds that they have in their IRA. And when interest rates come down, the yield on those bonds and on the CDs goes down too.
Really? Okay, so that's an interesting point. So it seems like the interest rate affects all things that have an interest rate. So you're saying you could possibly get a lower rate when you purchase a home and you're doing your mortgage for that. But if you have funds in retirement that gets a fluctuating interest rate, that can decrease because of this. You would think it would go the opposite way. People get a little zhush from it.
Right, exactly. It depends if you're the one borrowing money or if you're the one lending the money. And if you own bonds, technically you're a lender. And so, you know, if interest rates go down, you know, you're getting a slightly lower rate. So, I mean, for a lot of my clients, you know, it might end up being a slightly negative thing with interest rates coming down. Now, when interest rates come down, typically the stock market tends to do better. And so that can be the good side of things. But the stock market's done really well over the past 2 years, even with interest rates going up. So, you know, we'll see how it actually impacts the stock market. But there are certainly some things, if you're in that latter category where, you know, you might not really benefit from interest rates going down. There are certainly some things that you can do right now to take advantage of the high interest rates. And one of the things that we've done is we're trying to lock in those interest rates for a longer period of time while they're still pretty high.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying instead of having a flex rate, you want to do it where you're committing to a certain period of time to lock it in. Okay.
Yeah. So like with the kind of bond or fixed income side of somebody's IRA that we manage, instead of investing in 3-month treasuries that will come due in 3 months and then you have to try to reinvest it, maybe we'll invest in 10-year treasuries that lock in that high interest rate for a longer period of time.
So what if the interest rate changes again over the next, I mean, there's a possibility that the presidency could change and that would change the market. So what if interest rates went back up and someone locked in a 10-year? Do they have options for that? Or is it just one of those investing things that you kind of got to gamble with it and decide what's best now, possibly for the future for you?
Right. You do kind of have to look into the future and kind of see, okay, where do I think interest rates are going? Typically, if we think that interest rates are going down, that means we want to go longer duration on bonds to get that interest rate locked in for a higher period of time. But of course, you know, there's always the possibility that 5 years in the future, interest rates go back up again. And if that occurs, then we'd take some cash that's on the sidelines and reinvest it. So there's certainly a strategy of laddering some of these things, so you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You're buying a 10-year treasury, a 5-year treasury, a 3-month treasury, so you're kind of doing laddering that way. But that's one thing that we do, and we've done that preemptively with the accounts that we manage. But if you're somebody at home, you know, that has a lot of bonds in your portfolio, maybe you're more of a conservative or moderate investor, it's certainly worth taking a look at and saying, am I invested in a good way that can take advantage when the interest rates go down, or at least allow me to keep that higher interest for a longer period of time?
So tell me, Caleb, what are some of the other benefits when it comes to the interest rate lowering? Like outside of investments, how can people benefit or take advantage of this moment? Like tangibly, how does it impact them? Yeah,
good question. So, I mean, certainly people looking for a mortgage, it's great that you get a lower interest rate. Another piece that benefits is small business owners, or really any business. A lot of times businesses need to take out debt in order to grow their business, right? So you're taking out debt to build a new factory or build a new office or whatever it might be. If interest rates are really high, it's difficult to do that. It gets really expensive to do that. And so when taking out that debt gets cheaper, they can really benefit from growing that. And that can trickle down too to, you know, workers. Now, if their business is growing, they're able to hire more employees and, you know, the economy typically does well from that.
So you're saying like small business loans.
Yeah.
And so does it impact the personal side too with like unsecured personal loans and car loans as well?
Yeah, typically, vehicle loans will go down, credit card loans, or credit card interest rates, will go down. So all of that will end up helping the end consumer typically. But of course, those are the people who are taking out debt. You know, on the flip side, if you're the one who's lending that, if you're someone who owns municipal bonds or CDs and all of that, you know, technically a CD, you're loaning money to the bank, right? So, I mean, that's why you're a lender and you get to take advantage of interest rates.
Fascinating. I never thought about that in the flip. So good. Well, again, this is why we need a financial advisor, because that layering technique that you said, you all track this market every day, and I know that you're trying to make the best decisions for your clients. Yeah. Well, thank you, Caleb, for this information today. And if you would like more information about Foster Financial, we'll have their website and phone number listed below. You can give them a call for a complimentary consultation. And I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.